of hide and seek around. I try to decode things that I see and hear from around the world with a little bit of sense, a little bit of nonsense. What I try to cover here is things that happen around the world and in India in the form of charts. I hope you enjoy watching it as much as I enjoyed curating it. Here's a chart that proves exports aren't just about trade, they fuel for growth. Each dot here shows a country-wise observation comparing real export growth on the x-axis with fixed income growth on the y-axis. The upward slope, the dotted line, tells a story. For every 1% rise in exports, investment grows by about 0.4% on an average. With an R square of 0.47, it's not a perfect fit, but the trend is clear. When exports boom, factories expand and capital spending follows. In short, more ships leaving ports usually means more cranes on skylines. Trade drives investment literally and statistically. India's blue chips have flexed their strength, but not their returns. Over the last 3 years, giants like TCS, Infosys, HUL, and Kotak Bank have barely moved, with gains under 3 to 4%, and some like Nestle even in the red. These are not bad businesses, they're just fully priced, stuck between high valuations and slow earnings growth. Meanwhile, smaller players and mid caps have been stealing the spotlight with double digit returns. So, if your portfolio feels like it's standing still, you're not alone. India's top stocks are delivering stability, just not excitement. In India's real estate world, paperwork can often cost more than cement. Builders face long approval chains, and in that maze, unofficial payments have become an open secret. From land clearances to occupancy certificates, each step adds hidden costs that eventually reaches home buyers. It's a symptom of deeper issues, red tape, overlapping regulations, and lack of transparency. Until approvals go digital and accountability gets teeth, the price of corruption will keep getting built into the skyline. India's poverty map is changing faster than you would think. States like Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, and Andhra Pradesh now have almost no one living below the poverty line, which is actually less than 2% of their population. On the other side, Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand still have over 14 to 19% of people struggling with poverty, but even there, progress is real. Over the last decade, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, and Madhya Pradesh have pulled off the biggest turnaround, cutting poverty by more than 30 percentage points since 2010. The story here isn't about rich versus poor states, it's about momentum. India's poorest are catching up fast, and that's a real growth story worth celebrating. Gold may be ancient, but it's having a very modern moment. The United States still sits on a mountain of gold, over 8,100 tons, more than double the next biggest holder, Germany. But the real story, China. In just 5 years, Beijing has bought more gold than Turkey, Japan, Russia, and Uzbekistan combined, pushing its reserves past 1,000 tons. Meanwhile, India has quietly stacked up 850 tons and was one of the biggest buyers last quarter, right behind China. Why the rush for gold? It's not just bling, it's a hedge. The auto world isn't just racing on roads, it's racing on valuations. At the top of the leadership board sits Tesla, with a jaw dropping $1.37 trillion. That's more than the next six car makers combined. Toyota follows at $263 billion, proving hybrids still hold their ground. Then comes China's new challengers, Xiaomi at $192 billion and Byte at $137 billion, both electric and both rising fast. Europe's legends Ferrari, BMW, and Mercedes Benz now find themselves overtaken by tech driven rivals. The message is clear: the value of the future of car value isn't built under the hood anymore. It's coded in software. India's nuclear power sector may be quiet, but it's heating up fast. Right now, 18 PHWR reactors form the backbone of India's nuclear fleet, generating about 5,400 megawatts of clean energy. Add to that Kudankulam's PWR reactors, another 2,000 megawatts, and a pair of BWR units from the earlier generation. Next in line, the prototype fast breeder reactor at Kalpakam, now in commissioning, and five small modular reactors (SMRs) are planned are being planned to redefine nuclear flexibility. Together, they mark India's shift from legacy plants to next-gen reactors, safer, smaller, and greener. That the atomic age in India isn't over; it's just getting a high-tech reboot. Back in 2021, a staggering 99% of iPhones were made in China. But by 2024, that's expected to fall to around 81%. It's not a coincidence, it's a strategy. Between US China tensions, rising labor costs, and pandemic lockdown lessons, Apple's diversifying production fast. India and Vietnam are the biggest winners, grabbing larger shares of iPhone assembly every quarter. So while China is still the backbone of Apple's manufacturing, its monopoly is slipping, and the iPhone's future may just be made in India. Foreign investors have been playing seesaw with India's equity markets. Over the last 3 years, FPI flows have swung wildly from record inflows of 66,000 crores in mid 2023 to sharp outflows like 94,000 crores in mid 2024. The story: global risk sentiment. When US yields rise or oil prices spike, money flees emerging markets. But when growth looks stable and inflation cools, India shines again. Even with the volatility, the long term trend shows confidence. Every big dip has been followed by a stronger comeback. So FPIs may be fickle, but they keep proving one thing: India is still the market they can't stay away for too long. India's engine is still running, but not all cylinders are firing equally. Credit to agriculture has cooled to around 7.6% after a strong post pandemic surge. Industry remains sluggish at 6.5%, stuck in low gear as investment demand stays soft. The services sector, though, is doing better, growing around 10.6% thanks to logistics, trade, and IT related lending. And the real driver? Personal loans, still expanding at nearly 12%, powered by retail borrowing and credit cards. So India's lending growth story has shifted from factories to families and from capex to consumption.